Hello and welcome to the viewers of this video. This is the Orange Fan here, bringing you another entry for the episode Recap and Thoughts category. This video will be dedicated to the FUNimation dub of episode 66 of Dragonball Super. Picking up where we last left off, we begin this episode with a beam struggle between Goku using the Kamehameha and Fusion Zamasu using an energy ball attack. We also see that the members of the human resistance and the human refugees have safely made it to the capsule garage that Bulma has set up. Eventually, Goku is able to overpower Fusion Zamasu in the beam struggle, and this results in the right side of Fusion Zamasu's face becoming purple slime, essentially. Goku's arms have also gone limp because of the fully powered Kamehameha, so all he can do is kick for now. And when Fusion Zamasu grabs one of Goku's legs, Goku is able to break free when he uses the Super Saiyan Blue and Kaioken combination, which he not only breaks free, but he's also able to get a good kick in on Fusion Zamasu. And this not only knocks Fusion Zamasu to the ground, but it also destroys the halo that's behind Fusion Zamasu. Goku himself ends up collapsing on the ground afterwards, but fortunately, Future Trunks, Shin, and Gowasu arrive with Vegeta in tow since Vegeta is still worn out from the events of the previous episode. So they're able to get Goku, and they all find a hiding spot in a destroyed building so that they can figure out what they can do next. After they found this hiding spot, Fusion Zamasu gets his bearings back, and he shouts Goku's name, and he also says along the lines, "Strike me now!" Yeah, he says along the lines of, "Strike me now, light of divine justice!" And this leads to Fusion Zamasu's right arm becoming bigger, and it also becomes purple slime as well. Gowasu figures out that, Gowasu pieces together that since Goku Black was not invincible, but Future Zamasu was invincible, Goku Black's lack of invincibility actually tainted Future Zamasu's invincibility. So Gowasu believes that there's a chance for them to defeat Fusion Zamasu if they can launch an attack with a significant amount of power. Goku figures that the best chance they have is for him, Goku, and Vegeta to perform the Potara Earring Fusion, like they did against Super Buu back in Dragon Ball Z's Buu Saga. And Future Trunks is surprised to hear that Goku and Vegeta have performed the Potara Earring Fusion before. Goku eats a senzu bean to return to full strength, and Shin prepares to lend his Potara earrings to Goku and Vegeta. And when Goku brings up that the Potara earring fusion was undone the last time they did it, even though it was supposed to be permanent, Gowasu clarifies that the Potara earring fusion is only actually permanent when at least one of the fusees is a Supreme Kai. A fusion between two non-Supreme Kais lasts for an hour. And although Vegeta is resistant at first and acts stubborn, he eventually acknowledges that they don't have any better options. So he eats a senzu bean and he takes one of Shin's Potara earrings. As Fusion Zamasu is looking for the Saiyans and the Supreme Kais, he eventually notices a light, which is Goku and Vegeta performing the Potara Earring Fusion. And afterwards, we hear Goku's voice and Vegeta's voice say in unison, "All right!" And yes, Vegito has made his return. And Vegito gives a quick introduction along the lines of, "Since you performed the fusion, we decided to do so as well to even the playing field. This is the fusion of Vegeta and Kakarot, Vegito." And after that quick introduction, Vegito powers up to Super Saiyan Blue, since Goku and Vegeta know Super Saiyan Blue at this point in time, so it makes sense that Vegito would know it now as well. And Vegito easily counters an attack that Fusion Zamasu sends his way. And then Fusion Zamasu goes on a monologue about mortals copying the gods, but Vegito just ends up punching Fusion Zamasu during his monologue. And then he pretty much says it doesn't matter which version of Zamasu it is, he's just tired of hearing Zamasu monologue. So we now have a battle between two Potara Earring Fusion characters. And Fusion Zamasu is able to keep up with Vegito much better than Super Buu was able to back in Dragon Ball Z. But it seems like Vegito still has the edge in the fight overall. And there is one point where Vegito gets knocked down and Fusion Zamasu is preparing an energy blade attack. But Vegito uses the Spirit Sword against Fusion Zamasu, and he says along the lines of, "I can do that too, you know." And Vegito also points out that Fusion Zamasu is not invincible anymore like one of his fusees was, and he also pointed out that because one of his fusees had stolen Goku's body, that means that Goku, a mortal, is always going to be a part of Fusion Zamasu in a sense. And Fusion Zamasu responds that he intentionally took Goku as a part of himself, saying that he considers Goku to be the worst of mortals, or a representation of the worst of mortals, and and as a result, he wanted to forever shoulder Goku as a part of him, as a constant reminder of what he considers the sins of mortals and the mistakes of the gods. And he even cries at one point, and Vegito is like, "Seriously?" And Fusion Zamasu, says that he must weep because he must not allow the sins of mortals to continue or the mistakes of gods to be repeated. And Fusion Zamasu continues to mutate. He's now giant-sized, but Vegito doesn't seem to have too much of a hard time against this now giant-sized Fusion Zamasu. And Vegito even launches a final Kamehameha, a fusion of the Final Flash and the Kamehameha. And after he launches this powerful attack, he manages to get a punch in on Fusion Zamasu before his time limit expires. Vegito is now Goku and Vegeta once again. And in universe, it hasn't been an hour. It has not been an hour in universe. And Gowasu figures that the great amount of power must have shortened the time limit. Shortly before the Vegito and Fusion Zamasu fight finished up, Bulma and Future Mai arrive with the repaired time machine, and Future Mai gives Future Trunks the broken remains of his sword, saying that one of the two main kids of the human refugees found the remains of the sword, and they insisted that Future Mai bring the remains of the sword to Future Trunks. Future Trunks decides that he needs to be the one to finish off Fusion Zamasu, and he creates an energy blade to go along with what remains of his sword. So now he has an energy sword, essentially. He powers up to Super Saiyan Rage, and he charges off to confront Fusion Zamasu. And he arrives just in time to intercept an attack that Fusion Zamasu intended for Goku and Vegeta, whose fusion has now expired. And Fusion Zamasu continues to taunt Future Trunks. He says along the lines of, "Oh, so you're back again, Trunks. What are you going to do to try and avoid my brand of justice? Will you try to seek help from the past once more? Or will you try your luck in the future this time? And Future Trunks, though, counters that he's not ashamed. Yeah, he's not ashamed of being immortal, even though Fusion Zamasu keeps trying to make him ashamed of being immortal, because he says mortals helping each other out in harsh times and mortals working together to overcome odds that seem impossible is what makes mortals so powerful. And during the fight, Future Trunks subconsciously gathers energy from all the inhabitants of Earth in this timeline, in the Future Trunks timeline. Goku and Vegeta notice this, and they make a point to donate their energy as well. And this leads to Future Trunks creating a spirit bomb, essentially. So Future Trunks adds the spirit bomb to his energy sword, so now he has the spirit bomb sword at his disposal. And Future Trunks calls Fusion Zamasu out for his insistence that this is about mortals and gods, when really it's not about mortals against gods or mortals and gods. It's about Fusion Zamasu having a mentality that everything's about him. Like, Future Trunks calls out Fusion Zamasu that for all his claims of his actions being by the gods, for the gods, it really just amounts to by Zamasu, for Zamasu. And Future Trunks says he doesn't care about Fusion Zamasu, he doesn't care about Fusion Zamasu's brand of justice. And the episode ends with Future Trunks using the Spirit Bomb sword to cut Fusion Zamasu in half. So yes, this was a very intense episode. We're continuing the climax of the Zamasu saga. And I would say there's still a bit of the climax in the next episode with the resolution. We'll go more into detail about that in the next episode, recap and thoughts. I don't want to give too much away for the dub-only fans. But there were still some important details in this episode. And first detail we'll cover is Vegeta has made his big return, and it's been quite some time since we last saw him, not counting the video games, of course. But the other big change with Vegeta returning is they retconned the Potara earring fusion. For those unfamiliar, a retcon is it's a contraction for retroactive continuity, which means a detail that changes a previous detail that was already established. In this case, the Potara earring fusion was meant to be permanent, but now they're saying that there's a time limit when both fusees aren't Supreme Kais. It's only permanent when at least one fusee is a Supreme Kai. Now, some people say it's not a retcon because Vegeta already defused in Dragon Ball Z, and some fans even say it actually fixes a plot hole because of Vegeta defusing, but I wouldn't call it a plot hole because Dragon Ball Z did explain Vegeta's defusing. Whether it's a good explanation or not, that's another argument, but originally the argument or the original explanation involved the atmosphere or the air of Boo's innards. Like, the actual translations, like, I've seen some translated as bad air, and some seem to translate it as a dark energy or a dark presence in the air or atmosphere, but it seems the general idea seems to be the atmosphere or the air of Boo's innards canceled out the fusion is generally what seems to be the general idea anyway. And that's why I wouldn't call... Or that's why I would disagree with those who insist it's not a retcon because of Vegeta defusing, because that explanation of the atmosphere of Boo's innards canceling out the fusion came off more as a loophole. And this actually ties in with a detail that was established with the Champa Saga, where the Champa Saga had established that you could undo a Potara earring fusion with a wish on the Dragon Balls, at least the Namekian Dragon Balls, because Kibito Kai used the Namekian Dragon Balls to undo his fusion and return to being Shin and Kibito. So again, that felt more like a loophole, like otherwise it would have been permanent besides that loophole. And that seemed to be the idea originally with the Boo's innards atmosphere explanation, was it was a loophole. But here but yeah, it's still changed because now they're saying, oh no, the time limit just ran out. It was, yeah, so I would still call it a retcon. I mean, I guess some more pedantic fans might insist it's more of a revision, but that's like a variation of a retcon. But yeah, I would still call it a retcon in a sense. And as for and yeah, there have been a lot of debates over this retcon. Some like it, some don't like it, or some are indifferent to it. And from my experience or observations, it seems like it depends on what people thought of the explanation regarding the atmosphere of Boo's innards. Now, for me personally, I don't like the Potara Earring Fusion retcon. And that's not to say retcons are inherently a bad thing. There are some perfectly fine retcons. It's more like a case-by-case scenario. But in this case, I didn't like the retcon. I felt it was unnecessary because, like I said, the Potara Earring Fusion could be undone with a wish on the Dragon Balls, as established in the Champa saga, the previous saga. And again, I kind of feel like the idea that Vegito's time limit ran out the moment he let down the barrier inside Boo just seems too contrived of a coincidence. It seemed like, yeah, I think the idea that the air atmosphere of Boo's innards canceling out the fusion was actually a perfectly plausible explanation because Boo was a magical entity. So the idea that the atmosphere of the innards of a magical entity could cancel out other magic didn't seem unreasonable to me. It seemed perfectly plausible to me. So I think adding a time limit was unnecessary, and it just makes it feel too similar to the fusion dance. And I actually feel like if they're going to have a time limit, why not just have Gogeta appear? And yes, Gogeta didn't appear in the manga of Dragon Ball or Dragon Ball Z. Yeah, he didn't appear in the manga, but it was pointed out even in the manga, Goku did comment that it was possible for him to perform the fusion dance with Vegeta and Gohan for that matter. And Vegeta did comment that he did see the fusion dance in action when he was observing events from other worlds. So, and yeah, he did find it embarrassing, but desperate times call for desperate measures. So, and it should also be mentioned, an old interview had Akira Toriyama mention that he came up with the idea of the Potara Earring Fusion because he didn't want to step on the toes of the 12th Dragon Ball Z movie, Fusion Reborn, which featured Goku and Vegeta performing the fusion dance. So, and I should also add, Bardock, Goku's father, is also a pretty notable example too. Like, Bardock actually appeared in a TV special, but he was eventually incorporated into the manga. Or yeah, Akira Toriyama incorporated Bardock into the manga after the TV special. So with all of those details into account, I don't think it's unreasonable to have Gogeta show up in the main continuity or in canon material. Again, this kind of goes into the whole canon debate among fans, like does the franchise have a canon or not, or does it have no canon, or how do you define canon regarding the Dragon Ball franchise? Like that whole debate, that whole big canon debate. So like that's opening up a whole other can of worms. But bottom line is like I would still think that there'd be hope I'm still hopeful that Gogeta will eventually get an appearance in the main continuity or have a canon appearance, depending on how you define canon. And again, that's why. So while I liked Vegito returning, I still don't like that retcon involving the time limit, because I feel if you're gonna have a time limit, why not just have Gogeta appear? And I'm still hopeful Gogeta will eventually have an appearance in the main continuity. Otherwise, that detail also involves a difference with the anime and the manga. In the anime, Fusion Zamasu's fusion fell apart because Goku Black wasn't invincible, but Future Zamasu was, so this tainted Fusion Zamasu's invincibility. And I prefer this to the manga's explanation. In the manga, they actually had Fusion Zamasu have a time limit as well, because their justification was neither Fusey was a full Supreme Kai because of how they achieved the rank. But from what I recall when I looked over the manga for Dragon Ball Super, they still seem to suggest that only a full Supreme Kai could use the Time Marines, and Goku Black and Future Zamasu were shown using the Time Marines in the manga. So I get the feeling that that feels contradictory, that they could use the Time Marine but didn't have a permanent fusion. So I feel the anime was more consistent. So I kind of prefer the anime's interpretation of how Fusion Zamasu's fusion fell apart. And I do have to give credit to James Marsters, aka David Gray, aka Sam Magisters, for the performance he delivered as Fusion Zamasu became more deranged and insane, especially the laughter. That was chilling. And Future Trunks got to deliver the finishing blow of the episode with the Spirit Bomb sword. And there have been debates about that too, regarding the Spirit Bomb sword. Now, for me personally, it's like with Super Saiyan Rage. I do think they could have explained the Spirit Bomb sword better, but I don't have anything against the ability itself. And I do think that it did fit the theme of the saga about mortals working together to overcome odds that may seem impossible, which Future Trunks brought up in the episode. And I do think it was satisfying to have Future Trunks be the one to deliver the finishing blow of the episode because of all the misery that Zamasu and his various incarnations have put him through. So again, yeah, they could have explained it better, but I don't have anything against the Spirit Bomb sword itself. I think it was fit the theme, and it was satisfying to see Future Trunks deliver the finishing blow. And some people debated over how could Future Trunks harm Fusion Zamasu with the power difference. So another of those power level or power scaling debates, whatever you want to call it. I mean, but I think that can easily be explained. Future Trunks had Goku and Future Trunks had Goku's energy and Vegeta's energy in the Spirit Bomb sword. And I think it's not unreasonable to say Vegeta probably tired Fusion Zamasu out. So Future Trunks kind of was just finishing off a worn out opponent. And like I said, that's just my explanation, or the explanation I use to justify that. Like, again, I don't have anything against power level debates or power scaling debates. I don't think they're the worst thing to happen to the franchise. But at the same time, I kind of accept that the franchise just has a don't think about it, just watch the flashy fights mentality about that sort of thing. So there we go now. That's about it. So yeah, I actually did enjoy this episode. Overall, I liked seeing Vegeta return, even though I didn't like the retcon involving the Patara earring fusion. And although I think they could have explained the Spirit Bomb sword better, I still think it fit the theme of the saga well, and I do think it was satisfying to have Future Trunks be the one to finish off Fusion Zamasu at the end of the episode. So now we're going to see the end of the main storyline of the Zamasu saga next. As of this video, we've now discussed the Funimation dub of episode 66 of Dragon Ball Super on this channel. Take care, and until next time.